Welcome to Seductive Chronicles. In today's video, before we dive in, let me ask you something, quietly. When was the last time you felt fully awake inside your own life? And before this story begins, take 1 second and subscribe, because some stories pass the time and some gently change the way you see yourself. This one changed me. My name is Lauren. I am 32 years old. And for most of my adult life, I believed I understood what it meant to live well. I did know I was functioning, I was responsible, I was dependable, but I was not alive. There is a version of life that looks perfectly fine from the outside. You wake up when the alarm rings. You go to work, you answer emails, you cook dinner, you smile at the right moments, you pay bills on time, you collapse into bed exhausted. Repeat. No explosions, no betrayals, no dramatic disasters, just a quiet fading of color. It is the kind of numbness that does not scare you because it is subtle. You do not even realize it is happening, you just slowly stop expecting anything more. I did not know how empty I had become until the night I tried something harmless. Be careful with that word harmless, because sometimes what looks small does not fix your life. It exposes it. I have been married to Michael for 8 years. He is a good man, truly the kind of man people describe as solid, reliable, gentle, calm under pressure. He remembers birthdays without reminders, he keeps the car fueled. He fixes broken cabinet doors before you even mention them. When the world feels chaotic, he is steady. People would say, I am lucky, and I am. That is what made everything so confusing. We did not scream at each other. We did not throw accusations. We did not threaten divorce during emotional storms. There were no storms. Stillness. Mornings were efficient, evenings were quiet. We would sit on opposite ends of the couch, phones glowing against our faces, television murmuring in the background like white noise. We were not fighting, but we were not reaching for each other either. And over time the silence became heavier than any argument could have been. Love did not disappear, it turned into routine. Routine feels safe, predictable, comfortable, but if you are not careful, routine can slowly erase you. At some point, I stopped sharing small thoughts, stopped laughing loudly, stopped asking questions that led to real conversations. It was easier to scroll, easier to nod, easier to say, I am fine. One Friday night, I was lying on the couch mindlessly swiping through my phone, just to avoid the quiet in the room, and that is when I saw it. Friday night social dance, singles and couples welcome. I almost kept scrolling, but something in me paused. I used to love dancing before marriage, before responsibility felt heavy, before I measured my words and movements. Dancing made me feel light, present, unapologetically, and my body showed Michael the screen. I might try this Friday, I said casually, like it did not matter. He glanced at it, smiled softly. You should. He did not ask to come. He did not ask why I wanted to go. He did not question anything. He trusted me, and, strangely, that hurt more than suspicion would have. The studio was warm when I walked in. Soft golden lights hung from the ceiling. Music vibrated through polished floors. Strangers laughed nervously in small clusters. I felt older than I remembered being. Awkward, out of place for a moment. I considered leaving. Then I met Jason. He was not flashy, not arrogant, just calm confidence, comfortable in his skin. He walked toward me, held out his hand, and said, You look like you belong on the floor. It was such a simple sentence, but after years of feeling invisible, being seen felt powerful. The first dance was not romantic, it was not dramatic, it was easily fun. I laughed in a way I had not laughed in years. I moved without calculating how I looked. I was not thinking about dinner, dishes, or tomorrow's schedule. I was just there, present, and something inside me, something that had been asleep for a long time, stirred that feeling. It was intoxicating. One Friday became two, became every Friday. Jason and I started talking between songs, then after class, then through messages during the week. Nothing inappropriate, at least that is what I told myself. No explicit words, no physical boundaries crossed. That is how emotional lines blur, it through obvious mistakes, but through subtle closeness. He asked questions Michael had not asked in years, about dreams, about regrets, about who I used to be before I became responsible. He told me I had depth, energy that routine was dulling me on. I absorbed those words like someone who had been emotionally dehydrated for years. I told myself it was harmless. I was not cheating. I was just rediscovering myself. But attention feels like love when you have been starving, and that is a dangerous confusion. One night the studio emptied out faster than usual. The music played softly through dimmed lights. It was just the two of yous. Stepped closer, not suddenly, slowly, close enough that I could feel warmth, breath, the weight of a choice forming between us. My mind split in two. One voice whispered, You deserve to feel alive. The other said, You are standing at a point you cannot undo. For one terrifying second, I did not want to go home, not because I did not love my husband, but because I loved who I felt like in that room. Sincho's on awake. Jason leaned in slightly, and in that suspended moment, I realized something that shocked MIT was not him I wanted, it was the version of myself I thought I had. Lost that confident woman, that laughing girl, that unfiltered energy. I stepped back, my hands were shaking. He told me I did not have to return to a life that felt empty, but he was wrong. Running from emptiness does not heal it, just postpones the confrontation. I got home, the television flickered in the dark living room. Michael was asleep on the couch. Dinner sat untouched on the coffee table. He must have waited. That quiet image pierced deeper than anger ever could have, because betrayal does not begin physically. It begins in emotional distance, in secrets you justify, in conversations you share with someone else instead of the person you promised forever. Toy had not kissed Jason, but in my mind, I had already stepped away from my marriage, and that realization terrified me. Guilt is not loud, it does not scream, it sits quietly in your chest and refuses to let you breathe comfortably. The next morning I deleted Jason's number, blocked his messages. I did not go back, not because I felt morally superior, but because I was afraid of who I was becoming. Michael noticed something had shifted one evening while we were washing dishes side by side. He asked softly, "Are you okay?" It was such a simple question, and for the first time in years, I answered honestly, "I feel lost." I did not confess every detail, but I shared the real emotion, the loneliness, the numbness, the fear that I was disappearing inside my own life. He did not interrogate me, he did not accuse me, he just turned off the water, pulled me into his arms, and said, "Then, we will figure it out together." That quiet kindness shattered something inside me, because I realized I had not given him the chance to see my emptiness. I had assumed he would not understand. Healing did not happen overnight. It was not cinematic. There were awkward conversations, long pauses, moments of discomfort, tears that surprised both of us. We talked about boredom, about aging, about how easy it is to drift when you stop being intentional. We admitted that we both had hidden inside routine because it felt safer than vulnerability. We started small evening walks without phones, weekend coffee dates, where we actually looked at each other cooking meals together instead of eating in silence. We asked questions we had not asked in years. What are you afraid of lately? What do you miss about us? What do you need that you have not said out loud? Slowly, connection returned, not as fireworks, not as dramatic passion, but as effort, intentional effort. And I learned something important. Attention is easy, love is work. Attention feels thrilling when you are starving. Love feels steady when you are committed. Trying something new did not fix my marriages, revealed what was broken, and it forced me to choose escape or confront. We still argue sometimes, we still burn dinner occasionally, but we laugh more, we reach for each other more, we notice when the other one grows quieter. Love is not adrenaline, it is deliberate, and deliberate love is deeper than excitement. If I could speak to the woman I was standing in that dance studio, trembling between choices, I would tell her this: you are not empty, you are unheard of in by yourself. Do not search for aliveness in strangers, search for honesty in your own home, because transformation does not come from chasing new feelings, it comes from facing the quiet ones you have been avoiding. Maybe that is what growing up really is, not choosing the most exciting path, but choosing the most honest one. And if you are listening right now, and you feel that same quiet numbness, do not wait for a near mistake to wake you up. Have the hard conversations, say the uncomfortable truth, reach before you drift too far, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to Seductive Chronicles, because we do not just tell stories here, we tell the ones that make you pause and maybe see yourself differently.